Guys, we're here with Donn Berdahl, which is the creator of Order of the Forge. You know we've been raving about this book for some time now. Issue 3 just hit stands this week. Hopefully you've picked it up and hopefully you've been following this series. If you haven't, get your head out of the sand, get to your LCS, get on eBay, do what you have to do.
Seriously.
Don, thanks for being with us, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love you guys. I've since you've taken a liking to my comic book, I've watched all your stuff, and I mean, you guys are classically awesome. It's really cool to be here.
Thank you.
That's
Fair warning, flattery will get you everywhere, so just keep it at a low roar.
Fair enough.
One of the things I can definitely tell you is thanks for putting out a book that we liked, man.
Oh
you know,
my God, yes.
One of the things we try to do on this show is always showcase all of the number ones because there's so many number ones coming out these days that people are like, I don't know what to buy.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we try to give them a little insight and like, yo, this is shit, this is good, whatever. People who have been watching the show for years, they know our shtick by now. And anybody new to it, this is what we do. We tell you what's worth your time and what's not worth your $3.99 for sure.
Yeah.
Basically, this book, for anybody who's just tuning in, is, let's just call it, What If the Founding Fathers Had Superpowers? Which is fucking awesome.
Yes.
How did you come up with this to start with? Like, what was your inspiration behind this?
All right. Well, it's really my kids, frankly. I was in another business. I was in a creative process 20 years ago here in Los Angeles, but I left that, started something else, a different kind of creative deal in a different business than entertainment. And I had two little guys about 8, 9 years ago. They're 16 and 14 now, but they would literally, come up to me and be like, Dad, what's your, who are your 3 favorite Marvel villains? What are your 5 superpowers that you want to have? What do you think about this guy on this DC comic and everything else? And bluntly, I knew nothing about comic books. I had no idea about the genre or anything like that. So my little guys just wanting to be involved with them, and this may sound absolutely idiotic, but wanting to have an intelligent conversation with my 7-year-old, I thought, holy shit, I better figure out what's this all about, comic books and so on and so forth. So I started, just delving into that whole world of superheroes and what my kids were looking at and were interested in, and that was the initial inspiration. Second deal is I'm a huge history buff. I love Roman history. I've been blessed to go to Rome 4 or 5 times, and all parts of Europe. My parents are European. My wife's parents are European, and just the whole idea of mashing some really messed up history with our founding fathers, turning them into superheroes. It all just sort of came about that way. That's that simple.
That's creepy. I would love for you to do this, what you did to the founding fathers, to like Caesar. Caesar, Mark Antony, and eventually Augustus. That'd be so perfect. It was just...
Bro, trust me. I have written lots of stuff. Napoleon. I have these guys going all over the place because I won't spoil number 3, but
no, we read
you
it.
Can tell, Well, you can tell by the cover that we have Vikings involved. We've got the superhero mysticism of American Indian. George getting his powers and then fighting some Viking zombies and Asgard, and these guys can go all over the place and do all kinds of things and tell all kinds of stories. And it's a lot of fun for me. I really did this just kind of on a whim. I mean, I had another job. I owned a company, and I literally wrote these characters at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning at night when I couldn't sleep. So I'd get up, go to my computer, and I'd Google this, and George Washington's got red hair, all this kind of shit I had no idea about, even being a history buff. And I just gathered all this information, and then I just started mashing these characters together. And through a lot of stuff, we got to the comic book world. But yeah, it was just an absolutely fun creative process for me to do it.
The fun freaking read.
As a bit of a creative engine myself, I will tell you that the twilight hours are the best inspiration for anything that you need to do. When you should be sleeping, but that's when you're like, I need to do stuff. That's the perfect time.
Dude, I can't agree. The worst is like during the day, because I know I should be doing something, But instead, I just do nothing. It's like, no, I don't know. It's only 4 o'clock. I can do that later.
That's when you sit with no pants on watching Netflix. Is during at 4 o'clock when it's optimum time. Like you should be working. All the other people with real jobs are working.
Totally. Listen, I just had to cut off the NBA draft to come talk to you guys. So I just listened to all the New Yorkers boo the pick. So
the fucking Knicks got the skinny white dude like this big instead of getting the other black guy, which they should have. I mean, let's be realistic here. Let's
big
fucking
boy.
call
No,
it as it is.
I hear
Way
you.
to go.
You guys are a tough crowd out there, that's for sure.
There we are.
Holy shit. Now, you said you own the company. Now, this book is being published through Dark Horse, but it's not a Dark Horse book. Tell us about that.
Okay. So I had these ideas, and literally living here in LA through some people that I know that I play golf with and hang out with and so on and so forth. This is going to sound like a cliched story, but literally I met a gentleman that was introduced to me. He won 4 Emmys. He was a producer on The Simpsons. He did the Mask comic book years ago. He worked at Marvel for a bit, Moonscape, blah, blah, blah. And I pitched him this idea. I took him all my characters. And I had also written a treatment for a screenplay with another gentleman from England. So I had all this material, but I didn't really know where I wanted to take this. So he is really the inspiration behind, really focusing into a comic book. I had this idea. I wanted to make a movie, a TV show. I didn't know exactly a comic book, but he's the one who really focused me in that direction. His name is Bill Schultz. And he has a contact with Mike Richardson, the owner of Dark Horse Comics. They work together on The Mask. So we went up to their headquarters outside of Portland and talked to them about the idea. And they basically, the way it worked is, they were willing to do the comic book under their banner and produce it and eat all those costs and everything else, and produce it with me, or I could essentially produce it under their banner, but retain the ideas and everything else, as the creator, and be more involved in the creative process if I essentially hired them to produce the book. So it's a full-blown Dark Horse comic. I have an editorial staff that I work with there, 4 people. I went to Comic-Con last year. I vetted writers and artists, and I spent a long time doing this, working with their editorial staff. And again, this is what was so enriching for me, is because I am creative, and I was very blessed to be able to pick the writer and pick, the cover artist, Juan, and pick somebody different for the interior work, and with recommendations and input from Dark Horse and their editorial staff. But it's kind of a collaborative effort, but it's my property that I own still.
That's fantastic. One of the major things that we try to do is always show off kind of indie stuff and creator-owned stuff, because a lot of that stuff unfortunately tends to slip by the wayside of a lot of fans. And it came to us because it was a #1, and we're like, all right, whether it was a Dark Horse imprint or whether it was, West Bubba Fuck Publishing, it didn't matter to us. We were always going to read and review #1s. And one of the things that we loved about this book the most was obviously the concept of the Founding Fathers having superpowers was, and no pun intended, revolutionary. Nobody had ever tried that idea before. Nobody had gone down that path. One of the things that we found that stood out the most to us right off the bat, and it wasn't a criticism, it was just, this was different to us. Because every, let's say, TV show, every HBO show or movie or whatever has people like that talking in that extra proper, either British tone or that, like everybody, think Lord of the Rings, if you would. Everybody's fucking British, like everybody has that proper accent and everything, and these guys were talking kind of like us, in the vernacular, basically just Americanized, just full-blown fuck you, what the fuck is going on kind of shit. What was your inspiration behind them making them talk normal as opposed to fitting that stereotype where they're from this era, they have to talk this particular way, Spartacus style, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, totally fair questions. And as a matter of fact, out of 25 or 30 bloggers and folks, comic book reviewers that have looked at our stuff, it's been overwhelmingly positive. Having said that, as a creative person, you can't hang your hat on, what everybody thinks, because obviously it's a subjective thing and not everyone's going to like what you do. And one of the criticisms from 2 or 3 people were, they loved everything about it, but it kind of waxed them a little bit that these guys were throwing F-bombs and they didn't say thee and ye and all that kind of stuff. So I know exactly where you're coming from. Having said that, if you think about it, like what I'm doing, it's not history. What we have that saying, it's, historical fiction. And I like to call it fictional history. I'm like the complete, not 180 degrees, but I'm a long way away from history. I'm taking very loose historical, license with what I'm doing. So the reason I did that is I wanted to shock readers. If I was Marvel, I could just kind of do this patented thing and roll it out, and more power to them. But I wanted to create a comic book that was edgy and interesting for people and shocking, so that they were thinking of George Washington in a way they've never thought of. From him being 21 years old, we all think of him with a wig on and,
sure.
50 years old and just, I don't know. It's like, that's all I knew of him until I really started digging into this. And I thought, how cool would it be to turn him into a 21-year-old guy? Which then led me to, literally, we had a lot of debate about this. And I was adamant that and the writer too, Victor, who has done a lot of stuff, in this vein of kind of edgy work. I just really wanted them to be different. I didn't want to stereotype them. I wanted to shock readers. I actually wanted some people to go, whoa, this is like, this is really fucked up. This is too much for me, or this is uncomfortable, or whatever the case may be. I really wanted people to look at these characters in a different light. And sometimes you got to go with a little bit of shock value there. To have George Washington, dropping F-bombs and Ben Franklin saying, suck hot science, you bastards, and blowing people's brains out and shit like that. It's like, I just felt the vernacular fit. There is nothing wrong with Old English. I love Spartacus. I love hearing about Jupiter's cock and whatever funny shit that those guys would. I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Whatever, but just that whole twist. I get it, but for me personally, the inspiration was to really add another layer to these characters that was different than what you or I, the reader, would normally expect from them.
Okay,
so, it's
my one complaint is only 3 issues. Why? And when's more coming down the pipeline? Is there a movie deal possibly? What's the future of Order of the Forge?
Those are all fair questions. And if you haven't figured out yet, now I'm a pretty transparent guy, sometimes to my detriment. And that is, I own this property. I hired Dark Horse. So what I could afford to do was 3 issues. That is the bluntest, honest answer I can give you.
Gotcha.
So we did the 3 issues. And then we have a compilation coming out in November of the 3. I've written stuff. I've spoke with Victor, the actual writer of the comics that does the bubbles and is 80% in the engine. We have lots of ideas. I'm working on a deal to get more comics made in conjunction with Dark Horse.
Okay.
So I don't want to lie and say there's going to be one for sure, but I would say that there's a very strong possibility that we're going to stretch this into a full series because it's been super well received. We've been very fortunate. It's been a wonderful project, all the way through the whole, there's business and there's creative. Yeah. And, if they don't marry, then it's not so, you can't do it. That's, people don't like to hear that, but, it's only fun to do a comic book if people read it and enjoy it. And then there's an audience for it. And we've proven that there is. So, that's definitely happening. 80% happening, not definitely. Mm-hmm. As far as the rest of the property goes, I am here. I was in this business before. I produced a very small movie that hasn't been released recently, $1 million movie. And it's in the process of being edited and scored and things of that nature. So I'm very interested in that process. I never, like I said, I didn't set out with this to say, hey, I want to make this, or this. I set out to, how do I take these characters and bring them to life in some medium or some genre? Comic book was the one that we felt was the best way to bring them to life. And I was so involved in the creative process with Victor and the artist and everything else. It was very rewarding for me. So that was the natural first step. The next natural step is to try and get a TV show or a movie made. My preference would be a TV show because I have such a big arc to it. But again, it's very, very difficult to do. It's thousands to one to get your ideas, out there and find producers and development deals and all that stuff that bores people to tears as far as getting it done. But I am working on it. Bill has worked in the industry for a long, long time, and we've spoken to production companies, we've spoken to talent, you catch people, and we've had some very positive responses. So I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. I'm a very stubborn type A personality guy. So I'm gonna hammer away at this thing. Just because I think it's a fun story and it's, I don't know. I think it's entertaining, and I want to see if the rest of the world thinks so.
It's absolutely one of the more entertaining things that I've read in a long time.
Yes.
Simply and we'll just call it American vernacular. The fact that they kind of talk just like us made it more relatable. If it was certainly shocking because they've got that stereotype where they should be talking like this, but all of a sudden, oh shit, they're not. They're talking like us. All right, so let's see what's going on here, and you get such scenes as, like you said, suck hot science, motherfuckers, where they just, like, Ben Franklin has this genius idea where he opens up the back of the carriage and there's a Gatling gun, and dude's like, the fuck is that thing? And they're all sitting there, like, pumping their,
the
muskets and everything, and homeboy's got a Gatling gun. Like, things like that are just, like you said, shocking, but also interesting, and it draws you in where you want more. Like, the funniest thing was, one of our best complaints about any book is that we want more. And it's a complaint on the show that we've gotten to use very, very few times. I can probably count on one hand how often we've said, wow, shit, I wish there was more of this.
8 years.
In 8 years, less than 5 times.
Yeah. Wow.
And this was one of them.
You said earlier, you said flattery will get you everywhere. I mean, come on, dude. That's really kind of you. I truly appreciate it because, just because it's my baby and I spend so much time thinking about it, and I love sharing it with people that appreciate it, and that anything that's subjective or creative, obviously, when you put something out there, you guys are on podcasts. You're putting your opinions out there. You're putting yourselves out there. I'm sure there are people that think you're buffoons. They jump your case, whatever. But they're, you're passionate for what you're doing, and just going with it. It's sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, and I truly appreciate that.
One of the best things I found in this was, aside from one of George's like superpowers or drawbacks, was that he couldn't lie.
Oh my
and
god!
That he had
the last book.
In the last book, no, we got the map right here. We're good.
Dick.
Like,
dick
really,
like,
asshole?
Seriously, don't you want to like pimp slap her?
Yes.
Like, oh no, bitch, what are you?
I loved the Goonies. It just was so reminiscent of childhood, especially with the 30th anniversary of Goonies just passing by, like recently, and all of a sudden they find a pirate ship. I'm like, yes, of course there's a pirate ship. There needs to be a pirate ship. And they've got like everything about the book, and the fact that they decide to call themselves like a bit of a Justice League Order of the Forge, like this is us kind of thing. And what I wanted to have, I shouldn't say wanted, but what I was waiting for to happen did not happen, in that this is George Washington and he's going after the evil Baron because he's a traitor to the crown.
Yeah.
And he's like, I will defend the crown till my dying day. I can't imagine what event could possibly change my mind.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
And I'm sitting there like, what changes your mind?
Right?
What is it?
That's when you think, fucking 3 issues. Damn it.
Where's the other 3? There needs to be 6, something.
Yeah. Well, well, you're obviously savvy enough to notice. In keeping with the whole theme of what I tried to do there, Victor and I tried to do. Excuse me. George Washington, we think of him as the father of our country,
Right.
and he is. I did tons of research on him, read some fascinating books about, his dilemma with protecting loyalists and not usurping power from Congress. And I mean, again, kind of nerdy stuff that interests me as a history nerd. But, at the start, he did fight for England in this time period in during the 7 Years' War, which is what the English and the Europeans call it. Americans, we call it the American Indian or French American Indian Wars. Yeah. Basically England against France in this period of the early 1750s. George cut his teeth getting his ass kicked, frankly, in real battles by the French and Indians. And he was fighting for the crown. And again, people just don't either know that or really associate George with that. So, yeah, I was trying to flip as much as I could, without being over the top and garish to just a ridiculous point. But, again, I want you guys to be thinking like George Washington. Wow. I mean, he's dropping F-bombs. He's got superpowers. He's fighting for England. Like, what's this all about? And I want you to want more. And hopefully I can deliver some more for you guys. So
we hope so too, man. Honestly, at this point, we're just like, we haven't even heard how or why he got these superpowers. All we are is led to accept that he got them. And I mean, we accept that, yeah, but we definitely want more. So we wish you the best of luck. And hopefully, if you guys in Pete's Basement Land are out there, go buy the trades of this or go to your SCS and request this.
November on the trade, yep.
Get it. So this way they can see that, this shit's making money so we can get some more of this because God knows we don't need more convergence and shit like that. We need good stories like this.
Yeah.
This is your history buff comic book right here.
You read this shit, you will start Googling shit.
Absolutely. That's the other thing. Like, this will make you just look up history.
Yep.
Like he just said, the 7 Years' War. How many people know that George Washington was not this uber patriot just right from Jump Street? Like, he pops out of the womb like, America, fuck that. We don't know anything about him beforehand. We know what we learned in school. Constitution, from there on in, he's 60 years old.
Same shit Benjamin Franklin. He was a whore.
Right? Yeah, apparently I did not know that either.
Oh, he was huge.
I was talking about this book to a friend of mine. I was like, they found Ben Franklin in a hua house. And she was like, yeah, that's apropos. And I was like, how the fuck do you know that?
Yeah,
Why do you know that? I didn't know that. I had to Google that shit.
Yeah, he was a slug bad.
Well done, man. Great story, great art, and we wish you the best of luck, man.
Seriously.
I appreciate it. When I do more, you're the first people I'm coming to.
Thank you very much, man.
All right.
Thanks for being with us, man.
I appreciate it, guys. Best of luck, man. Be well.
If you're ever in New York, hit us up.
Seriously.
You got it, brother. Peace.
Take it easy. You want to just get G.I. Joe off the bat? Let me just get this out of my fucking system.
I was expecting shit.
Hang on.
Sure. I need a drink. I know IDW has been doing good stuff.
That's a bad sign.
I have enjoyed A Real American Hero because it is the one true G.I. Joe title. Larry Hammond's still writing it. It continues the storyline from back in the day when it was Marvel Comics doing it, and now it's IDW.
Several
movies coming out. I'm okay with
I'm
the
okay
whole
with
thing.
that.
Give me a finite story, issues 1 through